Bethany and Aaron met one rainy autumn afternoon in a cozy cafe tucked between the tech offices and boutique shops of downtown Palo Alto. The kind of cafe where the smell of roasted coffee beans mingled with the faint scent of rain-soaked streets, and the warm amber light made the storm outside feel like a distant worry. Bethany, a young and determined dreamer with a quiet strength that often went unnoticed, felt an immediate pull toward his smile, a smile that radiated warmth, reassurance, and a promise of safety. Aaron, tall and effortlessly charming, caught her attention just as quickly, his gaze sparking a connection that seemed electric and unbreakable. That first meeting was effortless. It felt as if they had always been destined to collide in the middle of that bustling city street, the rain blurring the edges of the world around them. At first, life seemed perfect. Bethany devoted herself wholeheartedly to their relationship, balancing her demanding job in tech finance with support for Aaron's ambitious dreams. She worked long hours crunching numbers, managing budgets, and making sacrifices that nobody outside their little bubble could see. Meanwhile, Aaron dreamed big, talking about startups, investments, and plans that seemed light years ahead of ordinary life. Friends admired them, whispering that they were the perfect couple, the embodiment of love and ambition. "You're so lucky to have him," they'd say to Bethany, and she would smile, feeling both proud and entirely devoted. But slowly, the sweetness that had drawn her in began to twist into unease. Small inconsistencies, overlooked promises, and fleeting coldness began to weigh on her heart. She tried to convince herself it was nothing, that she was simply imagining cracks where none existed. "You know I love you, right?" Aaron asked one evening, his voice soft but strangely distant. He searched her eyes, looking for the spark that once ignited between them. His smile, once full of warmth, now felt rehearsed. "Of course," Bethany replied, her words lacking the enthusiasm they once carried. "But we need to think about the future. Life isn't just romance." The phrase lingered in her mind like a melancholy song she couldn't switch off. She realized with a sinking feeling that Aaron had changed. Their shared dreams had slowly become his alone. Where she felt exhausted from giving, he seemed energized by something she couldn't yet grasp. He spoke constantly of luxury, status, and opportunities for a life of high stakes and high reward, but Bethany noticed he was becoming increasingly distant. Everything shifted one gray morning when a single phone call shattered their fragile equilibrium. Aaron's father, a highly successful entrepreneur whose wealth was the stuff of Silicon Valley legend, had passed away. At the funeral, Aaron seemed absorbed not by grief but by logistics, inventory lists, lawyer consultations, and estate details, moving through the motions as if the loss were merely another transaction. Watching him, Bethany felt a shiver of foreboding. Something dark was brewing, though she couldn't yet name it. Months later, on a quiet evening lit only by the glow of her desk lamp, Aaron called. His voice was different, calculated, cold, almost unrecognizable. Bethany instinctively knew this conversation would alter everything. "I've received an investment opportunity," he said, voice stripped of emotion. "But for that, we need to go our separate ways." Bethany froze. "What are you saying, Aaron?" He sighed, a sound heavy with impatience. "I'm saying I no longer need you. With my father's inheritance, I can build the life I've always imagined. You're no longer part of it." The ground seemed to drop beneath her. Her heart stuttered, nearly stopping. How could he speak so coldly after everything she had given? Memories of late nights, sacrificed comforts, and whispered dreams with him cascaded through her mind. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Aaron, I loved you. We had plans, dreams. Our plans," she stammered, her voice trembling. He laughed, sharp and impatient. "I always knew you didn't belong in this life of ambition I want." The words cut deep. The man who once vowed to protect her was now a stranger, discarding her as if she were an inconvenience. Without another glance, he grabbed his keys and left. "My lawyers will contact you. We'll handle this quickly and efficiently. Don't worry." Bethany sat alone in the quiet of her suburban home, despair washing over her in waves. Yet beneath the hurt, a spark ignited, a determination she hadn't known she possessed. She didn't yet know how, but she understood one truth: Aaron had underestimated her. She moved to her home office, her fingers trembling slightly as she opened a folder he had never seen. Inside were documents, spreadsheets, and carefully hidden investments, the secret she had kept for herself, untouched and unassumed. She inhaled deeply and allowed a small, almost imperceptible smile to curve her lips. The woman Aaron thought he had destroyed was already rising, reshaping herself in the quiet solitude of her home. A few days later, she met Chloe, her longtime confidant, at the same cafe where her life with Aaron had begun. The familiar scent of coffee and rain-dampened streets offered comfort as she finally allowed herself to speak. "Remember that investment idea I had a year ago?" Bethany began, sipping her cappuccino. "Well, that idea is my chance to start over." Chloe raised an eyebrow. "You had a secret fund all this time?" Bethany nodded. "Aaron always thought he was the smartest person in the room. He underestimated me, but he didn't know my strength." That night, Bethany pored over spreadsheets and projections, planning a future that belonged entirely to her. The doorbell rang unexpectedly. It was Ryan, Aaron's brother, who appeared genuinely concerned about her well-being rather than his siblings' fortune. "I heard what happened. How are you?" he asked, stepping inside. Bethany hesitated but welcomed him in. They sat in the living room, the soft glow of the lamp casting long shadows across the furniture. "Bethany, I won't lie, it was painful," Ryan admitted. "But now I see maybe it was necessary. I never understood what you saw in Aaron." "He was always too ambitious," Bethany replied, thoughtful. "He couldn't see the people around him. I wanted to believe he'd change, that he'd understand life isn't just status and money. But now I realize it's me who needed to change. I never needed him." Ryan studied her with admiration. "So what will you do now?" Bethany's smile was calm, resolute. "I'm going to invest in something he'd never imagine. I'll use every dollar in that fund to build something far bigger. He thought he was discarding me, but he gave me the freedom to find myself. And I'll prove that I never needed him." As Ryan left, Bethany closed the door behind him, the weight of the past lifting with each click of the lock. She returned to her home office, opened her laptop, and dove into numbers and charts, the glow of the screen illuminating a fire in her eyes. Her secret fund was more powerful than Aaron could have imagined, a weapon she had kept hidden for years, and now, in the quiet of her suburban home, she would put it to use. "Aaron," she whispered, her voice sharp and defiant, "if you think you can leave me behind, you're very wrong. This is my moment, and I'm starting over in a way you'll never forget." After years of living in the shadow of his dreams, Bethany felt the full force of her own strength. She meticulously studied Aaron's corporate empire, learning the strategies and nuances of the business world he had dominated. Every step was deliberate, every plan calculated. One rainy morning, the day mirrored by the autumn storm in which she had first met him, she made her first call to a trusted financial broker. "I want to acquire shares in a specific company. Can this be done discreetly?" she asked, her voice cold and controlled. The broker paused, intrigued. "Which company, ma'am?" When she named it, a brief silence fell over the line. Then he replied, impressed, "Interesting choice. Very determined of you, ma'am." Bethany leaned back in her chair, the rain pattering against the window of her suburban home. For the first time, the future felt entirely hers to shape. Over the following weeks, Bethany moved with quiet precision, executing a series of strategic acquisitions that steadily brought her closer to reclaiming what Aaron had once taken. Each purchase sent a rush of exhilaration through her chest, a mixture of adrenaline and vindication. Every transaction felt like a personal triumph, proof that her intellect, determination, and resilience could overcome the arrogance that had tried to crush her. She wasn't doing this for revenge alone. It was about reclaiming her life, her power, and proving to herself what she was truly capable of. Meanwhile, Aaron began noticing subtle disruptions in his corporate empire. From his corner office overlooking the sweeping skyline of Silicon Valley, he scrolled through reports and took calls, the city lights reflecting off the glass walls. One afternoon, his phone buzzed with an urgent call from Ethan, the company's CFO. "Aaron, do you have a minute?" "There's something you need to see," Ethan said, tension lacing his voice. "Make it quick. I'm in the middle of a meeting," Aaron replied, irritation creeping in. There's been a massive purchase of shares over the past few weeks. Some of our trusted directors are leaving, replaced by new ones. This will affect future decisions. Aaron frowned, disbelief flickering across his face. This doesn't make sense. Who would interfere in my company like this? Ethan exhaled sharply. We haven't been able to identify the buyer yet, but whoever it is has immense financial power. For the first time in years, Aaron felt unmoored, a subtle tremor of unease in a man used to control. Determined to reclaim his dominance, he began attending meetings with heightened scrutiny, dissecting every report and every motion as if a single clue might reveal the intruder. Meanwhile, Bethany escalated her moves. At one of the company's most pivotal meetings, she finally made her presence known. Aaron, expecting to face the usual boardroom dynamics, stepped into the sleek corporate office and froze. Bethany sat calmly at the head of the table, her posture straight, her eyes steady, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing across her lips. Bethany, you really thought you could discard me without consequences? Aaron's voice cracked with disbelief. The room fell silent. Directors exchanged uneasy glances, unsure how to react to the woman who had quietly become the new power in the room. Bethany met Aaron's gaze with unwavering confidence, the woman he had once underestimated now fully in command. You don't understand what's happening, Aaron stammered, frustration thick in his voice. This company, this is my life. Bethany stood, her calmness unnerving. You're right, Aaron. This is your life, but now it's mine too. I invested everything I had to be here, and I'm not stepping back. Aaron's eyes burned with fury. He spun toward Ethan. This can't be happening. We have contracts. Rules. Ethan, tense and measured, lowered his gaze. He knew the truth. Bethany was now the majority shareholder. The woman Aaron had dismissed as weak was now the force guiding the company's decisions. Bethany addressed the team with quiet authority. From today forward, we will operate with respect, integrity, and accountability. If that's a problem for anyone here, you're free to leave. The room remained silent. Aaron felt the floor shift beneath him, the empire he had taken for granted now slipping through his fingers. He finally understood. The woman he had thought powerless not only had the resources, but the determination to reshape everything. Over the following days, Aaron noticed the meetings he once dominated were now filled with debate, scrutiny, and accountability. The company he believed unshakable showed cracks he couldn't explain. During a tense board discussion, Ethan tried to clarify the new directives under the majority shareholder. Ethan, what's going on? Aaron demanded. Since when do I take orders from someone else? This is my company. Ethan hesitated, eyes down. Sir, the shares were acquired legally. Bethany now holds the majority. There's little we can do. Aaron clenched his fists, disbelief and frustration tangling together. That woman, how did I not see this coming? He felt a shiver of panic, realizing that the predictable, quiet partner he had dismissed had outmaneuvered him completely. At home, even those who had once been allies now questioned him with veiled sarcasm. Greg, an old college friend, offered thinly disguised mock concern. I hear the company's going through changes. Must be tough. Aaron forced a strained smile. I've got it under control. People talk too much. This doesn't change the fact that I built this from scratch. His sister Laurel shook her head. Aaron, this isn't normal. Bethany knows exactly what she's doing. Didn't you always say she'd never understand the business world? Her words hit like a lightning strike. Now everyone's against me, he snapped. Don't you see this is temporary? I'll get through this. Laurel sighed softly. Maybe, but be careful with whom you trample on. Underestimating people. It seems there are consequences. Days passed, and Aaron, once confident and commanding, began to crumble under the weight of his misjudgment. Projects were canceled, investors withdrew, and rumors of instability spread through Silicon Valley's tight-knit circles. At a meeting with former partners, he faced the reality of his lost influence. Looks like your luck's changed, a businessman remarked, a smug smile tugging at his lips. I hear Bethany's running things quite well. Aaron forced a laugh, though his hands trembled. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's just pretending. I'll fix this. But every word felt hollow, each attempt to reassure himself a reminder of his fading control. The man who had once seemed invincible now felt exposed, isolated, and vulnerable. One late evening, alone in his office, Aaron stared at the stacks of reports detailing his company's destabilization. He whispered into the emptiness, almost as if Bethany could hear him through the walls. "How did you do it, Bethany? How did you manage this?" The irony was brutal. The woman he had once dismissed, the one he had thought powerless, now held the authority to save or dismantle everything he had built. And Bethany, calm and deliberate, had already made her choice. On the morning Bethany officially assumed her role as CEO, she walked into the corporate office with quiet confidence. The boardroom, once dominated by Aaron's presence, now belonged to her. Eyes tracked her every move as she approached the podium. She recognized faces that had once aligned with Aaron, but now all attention centered on her. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice steady, commanding. "Today marks the start of a new era. An era where every voice is valued, where respect and integrity guide our decisions. Together, we will build something remarkable, stronger, smarter, and fairer than ever before." The corporate office fell into a heavy, expectant silence. For the first time, Silicon Valley wasn't just watching Aaron. It was witnessing Bethany, the woman who had transformed betrayal into power, step fully into her own. Every head in the room turned as she moved with quiet authority, her presence commanding attention without a word. She wasn't there to prove anything to anyone. Simply being in this space, the one Aaron had never imagined she could occupy, was her greatest triumph. Aaron's gaze followed her, disbelief etched across his face, bitterness sharpening the lines around his mouth. The empire he had once ruled seemed to crumble beneath him, not because of rivals or market fluctuations, but because the woman he had underestimated had taken control. After Bethany's speech, he followed her into the corridor, desperate for confrontation. "Why did you do this?" he demanded, voice tight with anger and hurt. "Was it really necessary to humiliate me like this? You could have walked away, left everything as it was." Bethany turned slowly, her eyes steady, calm yet resolute. "Aaron, everything I did was for me," she said, her tone even but firm. "You made choices that brought you here. Now you must face the consequences of your actions." He looked down, unable to meet her gaze. She stepped closer, her posture deliberate, meeting his eyes without flinching. "I spent years by your side, believing in your promises, thinking we were a team. But when you left, I realized you weren't just abandoning me. You were abandoning everything we built together. That responsibility is mine now." A quiet pause hung in the air, then Bethany added, her voice soft but unwavering, "I hope you understand, Aaron. I never needed your fortune. Everything I've achieved comes from the lessons I learned, even from you. And for that I thank you." Without another word, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the polished floor, leaving Aaron standing alone, stunned by the weight of her words. In that moment, he realized he had lost far more than a company or a fortune. He had lost someone who had truly believed in him, and no amount of money could repair that. In the months that followed, Bethany thrived. Her leadership brought a wave of reforms and innovation, transforming the corporate office into a place of respect, transparency, and collaboration. She became a symbol of resilience and quiet strength, attracting attention from reporters and the public alike. One young reporter asked, "Bethany, what would you say to other women facing something similar? How did you rise again?" Bethany smiled, a soft, knowing glow lighting her eyes. "I would tell them that we all carry a strength we often don't recognize. Life can knock us down, but it's in rising that we discover our true power. It's never too late to start over." Her story resonated far beyond the office walls. She wasn't just building a company. She was leaving a legacy of hope and determination. Bethany's triumph wasn't measured by profits or titles. It was measured by the courage to reclaim her life, to redefine success on her own terms. Aaron, in contrast, withdrew from the world. Friends and family who had once supported him gradually distanced themselves, leaving him to confront the consequences of his own decisions. The realization of his misjudgments haunted him, and the empire he had once wielded with confidence now felt hollow and fragile. Meanwhile, Bethany moved forward with clarity and purpose, constructing a legacy shaped entirely by her own vision, effort, and resilience. Her journey became a testament to the power of perseverance. Even in the darkest of times, it is possible to rise again. Life, with its unexpected challenges, reveals hidden strength and the capacity to rebuild. True victory, Bethany understood, comes not from what we accumulate, but from who we become after facing adversity. And in the end, the most meaningful triumph is living with purpose and inspiring others to do the same. You just heard this one from Stories by Sue. If it resonated, don't forget to like and subscribe. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments. I'd love to hear. Thanks for watching.